We'll call this meeting to order of the Hollister Planning Commission regular meeting, February 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Vice Chair Belong, would you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Vice Chairperson Belong.
Present.
Chairperson Henderson.
Present.
Commissioner Corona.
Present.
Commissioner Lemon.
Present.
And the record will show that Commissioner Ross having excused absence for tonight.
Thank you. Verification of agenda posted.
The agenda was posted on Friday, February 16th, 2024 at 1:25 p.m. outside of City Hall on the bulletin.
If you will move on to item A, public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the planning commission. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the secretary before speaking. When the secretary calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city planning. If you are joining us by Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you're joining us by Zoom using a cell phone, please press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the planning commission from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
Chairperson Henderson, I have no speakers for items not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. We will move on from public input to item B, consent items. We just have one consent item, the January 25th, 2024 minutes of the regular commission meeting. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt the minutes of January 25th, 2024 as presented.
Second. Thank you. A motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We'll move on to public hearings. I'm trying to disclose for both items C1 and C2 that I had a meeting with and all of San Diego Engineering. Is there
I need to move out of the room. I have to excuse myself. I have to excuse myself because I have a conflict of interest. I'm within 300 feet of the Brookshire project.
We'll look at item C1, site and architectural review 2023-9 Brookshire. Their staff reports.
Yes, Senior Planner Magda Gonzalez will present the report on this item.
Good evening. The applicant is Ann Hall, and the project is titled Brookshire Apartments. They are requesting a site and architectural review to construct a 2-story duplex. The lower unit will be 965 square feet with a 60 square foot porch. The upper unit will be 977 square feet with a 72 square foot balcony. 4 tandem parking spaces, 2 located on each side of the complex. 500 square feet open space with a redwood fence in varying site heights from 4 feet to 6 feet, and restriping of on-street parking. Each unit will be 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The project also proposes to construct 2 accessory dwelling units. However, those are not under the purview of the planning commission. That is the ministerial review and approval, but they're included in here just to present the project as a whole. This project is addressed 221 Hawkins Street. It is within the downtown mixed use zoning, and it is currently vacant. It is located between commercial units on the east and the west. To the south is residential. And the parcel is 4,421 square feet. This is a proposed site plan. As previously noted, the 2 units, accessory dwelling units are located on the rear of the parcel. The proposed duplex is located to the front. And the first unit, unit 8, the lower unit will be accessed through the frontage, and the and the cursor will show the entrance for the upper unit, which will be on the rear, which will be east side of the site plan. This is the proposed landscape. The requirement is 5%, and they're proposing 25% landscaping. The majority of it will be between the duplex and the ADUs. It will have trees, shrubs, and the composite granite. It's a well thought out landscape plan. These are the proposed elevations. They propose them have different elements, both dark and light color elements. The second story is step back is required with the code. To have windows on all sizes. Here the west and east elevation showing a mix of both elements. And the location of the entrance of this second unit on the top. It meets the development standards when it comes to setbacks, to height and landscaping. They can easily propose a building up to 75 feet in height, but it's only 26 feet. And the landscaping, they're surpassing that requirement by more than 20%. The proposal is complying with the general plan and the zoning district, which is located in, and it is also exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, subject to section 15303B when it comes to duplexes or similar multifamily residential units that do not exceed 4 dwelling units. We recommend, the planning commission has 4 options. The first one is to adopt a resolution approving SNA 2023-9, subject to the findings contained within the resolution. And we do have modifications to the conditions of approval. We are requesting the removal of condition 26, 27, 50, and 83. 26, 27, and 50 were included on there by engineering and are not applicable to this project. And 83 was included on there by the fire department and is also not applicable to that project. Staff reached out to both divisions and they concurred that they can be removed from that proposal. The second option is to adopt a resolution approving SNA 2023 with findings or conditions of approval modified by the planning commission. Option 3, to deny the proposed project, or option 4, to continue the hearing and direct staff to provide additional information or clarification. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is here to answer your questions as well.
Thank you. And any questions for staff from the commission?
I just had one, so the alleyway, there's gonna be no blockage to it, it's just gonna be repairs to that. Some of the pictures, it looks like it,
Yeah, no.
You mentioned the CEQA, so is it the CEQA, is it exempt from CEQA, or I didn't quite understand?
It is exempt from CEQA. Yeah, it exempts any project that's multifamily that proposes 4 units or less. Since this one is only proposing 2, the ADUs are not taken into consideration yet.
Okay.
And if I may add, there was a previous project proposal on this property, as the planning commission may remember. And part of the concern related to CEQA on that was the fact that there was a pole in the alley right behind the property, causing some potential traffic and safety concerns. The redesign of the project that's before the commission tonight does not include any access through to any of the units or through the alley. So it's fully contained and all access is from the frontage on Hawkins. So that concern is no longer there. So the exemptions can apply.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? We will, open the public hearing at 6:11. Do we have any speakers?
The first speaker card I have for this item is Ann Paul.
Good evening, planning commission. Ann Wallace, Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Some of you may remember this project, we mentioned it's been here before. It's been through some modifications and, working with staff. And I think we all agree now on what works for both of us. So we are happy to go along with the resolution that was agreed as suggested, with the removal of those items that staff had recommended, and happy to get going on this project. I'm here in case you have questions of the applicant about it.
Any questions for the applicant? We have another speaker.
I do not.
We will close the public hearing at 6:12. What are some of the comments from the commission? Yes, sir.
From reviewing this, the items that were taken out there, I don't see any issues. Get there.
Thank you. Commissioner Khanna?
About the only concern I had was the power pole, which was addressed.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to see this, this project finally able to go through. It has been a long time coming. I appreciate the architectural design. I like the contrast between the light and the dark and light color elements. And it's nice that there's 25% landscaping. That's really nice. I'm happy to see that. And it's, I'm glad they found a way to deal with the utility pole issue, so it's no longer the problem of the applicant. So I think it's a good project. Any other comments from the commission? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution SMA 2023-9. Subject to the findings contained within the resolution and modifications to the conditions of approval removing items number 26, 27, 50, and 83.
What's the draft resolution number?
Yes, for the record, the draft resolution number will be resolution 2023-3.
I'll amend my motion to that. Even would it not be 2024?
Okay. It will be 2024-3. My apologies.
I'll amend my motion to 2024-3.
Yeah, so, right, so we're approving site and architectural 2023-9, but the draft resolution
Number.
is numbered is 2024-3.
Correct, yes.
So we have a motion, is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Commissioner Lenore, is there?
Is it appropriate for me to ask how the vote came out? Cause I walk away sometimes, like before, and I don't know what happened.
You can ask.
How did it go?
Yeah, we brought it.
It was, the motion was, the first option one was a 3-0.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, we will move on to item C2, appeal 2024-1, Anati Landing LLC. Then we have the staff reports.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson Henderson. I'll be giving the report tonight, Eva Kelly, Planning Manager. The item before you tonight is an appeal 2024-1 by the applicant of what's called the Anati Landing Project. This project, as you can see on your screen, this is the original approved plans. It is located at 2001 Memorial Drive at the very south end of Memorial Drive. It was a subdivision of an existing lot into 6 lots, a development of 16 multifamily units, as well as 12 ADU units for a total of, 28 residential units. The project applicant tonight is appealing the expiration of the project, and I'll be going through some timeline history of the project and how we came here today. So for some background on the project timeline, that original planning commission approval of both the subdivision tentative map 2020-1 as well as site and architectural review 2020-9 was on August 27th of 2020. And that was a 2-year entitlement approval as a standard. On June 29th of 2022, the applicant submitted a timely request for an extension of 1 year. While that extension request was being processed in July, there was a submittal to the engineering department for the improvement plans of the project, as well as comments returned on that first submittal by the engineering division on August 11th. On September 22 of 2022, there was an approval by the Planning Commission for a 1-year extension of both tentative map 2020-1, as well as site and architectural review 2020-9. And on September 28th, the review of the actual tentative map itself began by the engineering department. And on November 16th, the applicant resubmitted those improvement plans, submittal number 2, to the engineering department, which was ultimately approved in January of 2023. In April of 2023, the applicant attempted a submittal at the building division to begin the building permit application process, and I'll get into the details of that a little bit more later because that's part of kind of the situation of the project and the appeal tonight. On September 5th of 2023, there was an approval of the subdivision improvement agreement as well as the final map by the City Council. And on October 3rd, that final map was recorded with the County of San Benito Recorder's Office. And in October 2023, or on October 23rd of 2023, the applicant asked planning, they reached out to myself actually regarding this question that came up at the April submittal at the building division about whether the ADUs for the project would require additional planning review. And that led us through this process and analysis of the project, finding out that the 1-year extension had expired on September 22nd, so about a month prior to this inquiry, and led us to the situation of revolving around the extension and possible expiration of the project. So the request from the applicant regarding the appeal is we are requesting an appeal to allow the Anati Landing project to move forward with the building plan submittal. The developer has been fully engaged with the project since the extension of the SNA in September 2021. Again, that was September 2022. However, there have been delays due to staff changes, some resulting confusion. The developer has shown commitment to the project by posting over $2.4 million in bonds in September of 2023 as part of the subdivision improvement agreement. And he asked the Planning Commission to consider this and allow him to move forward with the multifamily infill project. And on an analysis of the appeal application, the applicant has been engaged with the city as shown in the timeline on the previous slides since the original one-year extension request. And in September of 2022, they've been engaged in the civil review process and approval process with our engineering department, which is typically the second step. Get approval from planning, then you go to civils with engineering, and following that, you go to building for building permits. The final map, as well as that subdivision improvement agreement, have been approved and recorded, and the applicant has posted bonds for the improvements associated. So this includes the extension of Memorial, and grading and other civil improvements are actively underway. And I do apologize, as I was preparing this PowerPoint, I realized that my sentence got cut off. This is missing from your staff report, that last step. So there are improvements and grading actively happening at the site, and that subdivision improvement agreement obligates the developer to do those improvements. And what's at question is the expiration of their site and architectural review, which is the vertical improvements of actually constructing the buildings. So going back to this April 2023 building permit submittal, since we were reached out to the planning department in October of last year, we've been discussing with the applicant team, and it turns out that there was an attempt to submit the application for a building permit back in April of 2023 prior to the expiration. It seems that there was confusion on the building side as to whether additional planning review was required for the design of the ADUs, which we were able to connect with the former building official who confirmed that had happened. She recalled speaking with the applicant team about both the completeness of the submittal, but also this confusion around the ADU applications. When we were reached out to the planning department in October, the planning department confirmed that additional design review on the ADUs would not be required. Because they're attached accessory dwelling units, they were approved as part of the original SNA site and architectural review design by the Planning Commission. There is a condition of approval that requires a deed restriction prior to occupancy on each of the newly created properties. That would still be required, but it wouldn't require our ministerial accessory dwelling unit process. And development services staff, we have reviewed our records to see if there was any evidence of a missed communication between the applicant and planning between April and October. We don't have any evidence of that regard. It's just an unfortunate coincidence of miscommunication, it seems, on both sides, where planning wasn't reached out to get that confirmation until after the September 22nd, 2023 expiration had passed. It is our belief, both the applicant's team as well as staff, that had that application been acceptable at the level of completeness, or if the confusion had been cleared up between April and September, it's likely that a building permit would have been issued. And that is the condition of the expiration in the condition of approval. So it's likely that had that not occurred, that building permit would have been issued. We wouldn't have be here tonight. The project could be issued with a construction permit underway. With regard to compliance with current codes, the August 27th approval in 2020 was of a vesting tentative map. What that means is that if the final map for the project is timely filed and recorded with the recorder's office, the site is vested to rights in place at the time of approval. So vested back to this August 27th, 2020 date for any further approvals for 2 years once the map is recorded. So the final map was timely filed. It was filed with the engineering department prior to the September 22nd date. It was recorded on October 3rd, but we've confirmed with the engineering staff that it was submitted to the county before then. And as mentioned, it was approved on September 5th by the city council. So for all intents and purposes, the city had completed the filing, we had approved and certified the final map prior to the expiration of that vested tentative map. And so the property does have those vested rights back to August 27th, 2020 for 2 years from October 3rd. Currently, no changes to the project design are proposed. And all of the original findings and conditions of approval have deemed the project compliant with all the standards that are in place at the time of the original approval. With no changes, the project as reviewed today using the standards that are vested, for example, if they were submitting a new entitlement application, would be deemed compliant with the current codes and policies. And if it was before the Planning Commission as a new application, you would be reviewing based on August 27th, 2020 policies. Our typical extension process for an entitlement comes from section 1724-130E of our municipal code, which allows for a director extension of up to 2 years or up to 3 total years if the project is phased with multiple buildings and at least one of the buildings has been constructed. So there can be an extension for up to 2 years or multiple extensions totaling up to 2 years. And if it's a phased project, if after those 2 years, at least one is constructed, the director can extend for another year. Unfortunately, because the project is expired, staff doesn't have the authority to extend or issue a new entitlement for the expired project. We're here in the process on this project past that September 22nd, 2023 date, and staff just does not have the authority to extend or deem something not expired. It is noted that tentative maps require Planning Commission approval for an extension, which is why that original extension was approved by the Planning Commission for both aspects of the entitlement. Right now, the tentative map is already done. We're just considering the extension of the site and architectural review for the design layout of the buildings themselves. The applicant has received that approval for the original entitlement, again for 2 years and one-year extension. If an application expires, that typical process would be to resubmit a new application, and that new application should be reviewed under the city's current codes and ordinances. And this is so that we can ensure that as codes and laws and policies get updated over the years, projects, if they don't happen, they don't, what I'll say is live for decades and decades and years. Projects get modified and the city can actually implement those new codes and ordinances. However, as we've discussed, this project has that vested right, which makes it a little bit more complicated. The Planning Commission's authorities related to this project are that you can affirm in part, or reverse an action that's subject to appeal. And you also have the authority, as you're well aware, to improve entitlements for site and architectural review applications, issue findings, as well as issue conditions of approval on those types of projects. And in our analysis, staff's analysis of the expiration of the project situation and circumstance, we believe that there are findings for the Planning Commission to make regarding authorizing an extension of the project and deeming it not expired. This is a summary. The actual details of the findings are written out in your draft resolution, but the applicant has been actively engaged on the project. They've been working with our engineering department and they're actively grading and doing improvements that they're bonded for to complete. There was an attempt to submit a building permit in April of 2023. It's been confirmed both by city staff as well as some emails between the applicant's team that have been forwarded to the city. But there was confusion between staff and the applicant that caused delays in that submittal to the building department. We do believe that without the confusion, the building permit likely would have been issued prior to the expiration and we wouldn't be dealing with an expired permit. The municipal code does allow for that 2 years worth of extensions and the applicants only received one. So there was potential for an additional year had it been understood that an extension was needed. The vested rights of the tentative map for this particular site ensure that a new entitlement application for the same project wouldn't need to be modified to meet any changes in our codes or policies that have happened since 2020 to today. So the same entitlement could be approved today. And on that point, again, no changes are being proposed to the project at all. That would bring into question the previous analysis and require us to look at it under the 2020 codes, but they're not proposing any changes. So it can be inferred that the Planning Commission's original findings, original conditions of approval, and deeming that consistent with no changes, it would still be consistent. We believe that a submittal of a new project application, just to follow that typical process, would be both costly and time consuming for staff, the applicant, and the Planning Commission. And it would be a resulting project proposal brought before the Planning Commission that's identical to what you're seeing tonight. You'd be looking at plans, considering a resolution likely with exactly the same conditions of approval as the original project entitlement had. It's vested to all the rights of the tentative map and the conditions of approval on that map. And all it would mean is the applicant is submitting an application, paying the application fee, staff's going through the formal review process, the timelines, just to bring the same plans before you again. And we believe that the applicant and the Planning Commission can make this finding that the applicants made good faith efforts to complete the project to date. They're doing the grading and they would like to build the buildings on top of those lots that they've built. With that being said, the Planning Commission's options tonight include adopting a resolution, approving the appeal, finding SNA 2020-9 not expired, and giving an extension for an additional 1 year as authorized by the municipal code, subject to the findings and conditions of approval contained in our draft resolution. I will mention, and it was mentioned in the staff report, that staff is recommending the addition of just one condition in addition to the additional conditions of approval on the original project, just to record, if necessary, an access easement across the shared parking lot. I can pull up the design back of the project if we need to, but there are two lots on the south side that don't have direct street access. And I think that condition was not included in the original project. So just in case something additional is needed, we're recommending that the Planning Commission include that condition to give access in perpetuity to those parking spaces and to the road. The second option would be that the Planning Commission could adopt a resolution upholding the appeal with modifications made by the Planning Commission. You could adopt a resolution denying the appeal and determining that the project Site and Architectural Review 2020-9 has indeed expired. Or you could continue the hearing and direct staff to provide any additional information or clarification on the item. And we are recommending option 1 tonight. With that, I will pause for any questions. Thank you.
Chairman, I just want to disclose, like you did, that I met with Ann Hall on this issue a couple weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff from the commission regarding the report?
I have one question.
Mr. Crowder.
Just to clarify, there's not a lot of dates down now, but you go with option 1. What will the extension date stop being?
Let me confirm what I wrote, but I believe that I have written an extension from tonight for 1 year. And I've also included a condition because this is a phased project. There are 6 buildings. I've tried to make it very clear that they have access to that additional director extension of 1 additional year if 1 building is constructed. 1 year from the date of approval, so this would be from tonight. So the 1 year extension would be February 22nd, 2025.
And then an optional 1 year
And then an additional optional 1 year.
by the Development Services
Correct.
Director.
An administrative process.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
Can we see the access easement?
Yes. So, the condition delegates the authority to the city engineer to determine what, if any, means is necessary to make sure that access is in perpetuity. But as you can see, these southern 4 buildings there's a property line dividing each of them, so each building is technically on its own piece of property. But they do have a shared parking space as well as this one single shared driveway and access shared, intended to be shared between all four properties for the parking and actual access here to Memorial to the north. So we're suggesting adding a condition to make sure that that access is maintained in perpetuity in whatever form is necessary, if something additional is necessary.
So Memorial Drive is coming down on. left-hand
Yes,
side there.
so this is Memorial here on the left, and then this is Hermosa Way, so we are south of Sunset. And this is the very end of the of both of those roads. It's currently does not connect. This project will provide that loop connection. And to the south here, this is the Twin Oaks Senior Development to kind of orient yourself to the site.
Any other questions for staff? We will move on to the public hearing at 6:36. Are there any speakers?
Yes, Chairperson Henderson, the first speaker I have is Ann Hall. Oh, okay. Yes, the first speaker I have is property owner. Go ahead.
There are only two speakers tonight.
I have only two speaker cards so far.
Good evening, Roger McDonald, 51 Old Branch Road and developer for Anati Land. Thank you, commission members, for granting me the opportunity to present our appeal this evening. My family has been deeply rooted in Hollister since 1963, with 4 generations dedicated to enriching this community through comprehensive real estate endeavors. Our journey has not just been about building and development. It encompasses the entire spectrum of real estate, including an extensive commitment to property management, where we manage several hundred units. Driven by understanding community needs, we advocate for diverse housing, with single-family homes comprising 80% of housing and an average value of $566,900. The high $100,000 down payment and $3,200 a month mortgages are beyond reach for many, given the median income of $87,761. Our goal is to enhance the mobility within the rental market and offer housing solutions that bridge the gap to home ownership for those in the middle ground. We are excited about the initiatives outlined in the current city housing element draft and are optimistic about the positive changes under the guidance of our new city manager. Our project aligns with these efforts, aiming to significantly improve this critical area within our community. In 2018, we embarked on transforming a non-conforming property, an infill project that received unanimous council approval. This project, featuring 6 lots and 28 units, including 12 accessory dwelling units, ADUs, represent a tangible step towards the diversity of housing we advocate for. The inclusion of ADUs has been applauded as an innovative solution to our housing challenges, embodying our vision for a community where diverse housing options are accessible to all. As we approach the completion of the subdivision development phase, despite our relentless efforts and the progress made over the past 6 years, unforeseen delays threaten further setbacks. We are deeply appreciative of the staff's report's recommendation, which graciously grants us the essential time needed to proceed. It is with humility that I ask for your support to move forward with this project tonight. In closing, I thank you once more for the opportunity to share our vision and plea. Your approval of this project will symbolize and reaffirm our collective commitment to fostering a more inclusive, sustainable, and vibrant future for all residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second speaker will be Ann Hall.
Lee Manhole as a lead engineering. I first would like to say, I appreciate staff's recommendation and encourage me to go with it. I think as they have presented, there was always engagement, but there was a little confusion. I think it's also important to remember during that year, there was a change to almost every, there was a new city manager, there's new development services, there's a new city engineer, there's a new city attorney. All those have small ripple effects that, not on anyone's, not on purpose, but cause some delays. In particular, as you have presented, we had gotten improvement plan approval in February, but it took until September to get this improvement agreement approved, which would have normally been, the very next step. And I think a lot of focus was ended up being placed on that. And then when that reported, and we go forward with everything else, we realized that was things, I think staff has come up with a very reasonable plan forward, and I encourage you to support it. The one condition that was spoken about in terms of the reciprocal access easement, I don't have an issue with the condition. I believe it's already been met. There's mutual ingress access and community easement on the map that was reported in October that I believe we asked for that. So again, I'm not opposed to staying there as a condition. I'm just. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
I believe our other participant online is our city engineer. No, we don't have any other speakers.
We'll close the public hearing at 6:42. Any comments from the commission?
I got none.
Vice Chair. Any comments? Mr. Cronin, any comments?
I got a comment,
Mr. Lord.
not a question, it's a comment. I want to say that I am relieved that you all work together, because I really wasn't looking forward to going against staff again. So I was very happy to read this report and read the recommendation, and I gotta say to the planning staff, I think you did a really good job here. You track the projects really well. You lay it out nice. I think you're reasonable. I think Ann Hall is a joy to work with. So it was a win-win, and I really do appreciate that as a planning commissioner that we agreed. Because again, I like to follow staff's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'd just like to say, thank the staff for working with the applicant through this issue. And also, thank you for providing, findings for the commission so that we can do this in a proper way. So, and I'm glad to see this project. It's an infill project, and I appreciate the comments from the applicant regarding being that innovative housing project. I think it's good for the community. Please, any comments? Any other comments from the commission? Is there a motion?
We have a resolution number.
The resolution number will be resolution 2024-4.
I move that we adopt TC resolution number 2024-04, resolution of the Planning Commission of City of Hollister approving appeal 2024-1 based on these, with the conditions and findings as stated in the staff report and the resolution.
Any questions on the motion? Is there- Okay, thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Move on to item D, information reports. Starting with planning commissioner reports. Is there anything commissioner would like to report?
That is.
Commissioner remarks.
I'll just briefly touch, because I think that you might want to talk about it, but we had the latest study session with the city council, regarding the housing element, and it went very well. I was very pleased with it. I wanted to explain to my commissioners here and the public, the reason I was reading from the draft housing element, there was a specific reason. I was trying to answer some of the folks' questions that I hear out in the public. So I thought, why not read it right off the draft plan? So it wasn't trying to do anything weird there, but my point was so that they could maybe look at the meeting and the recording of the meeting and maybe hear what I'm saying, because they don't read the stuff that I read, and so then it doesn't go well. So I'm hoping that they'll hear my comments, pick up the document and read it. That was my intent of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports from the commission? And I have nothing to report, but I appreciate Commissioner Morning comments regarding the last meeting, the study session. So we'll move on to planning division reports.
I don't believe I have any report, Commissioner Chairperson, excuse me. Okay, looks like City Planner Amber Cameron might have a report.
I was just gonna ask if you would share the dates of the upcoming workshop for the housing element, workshop 32.
Yes, thank you so much for the reminder. Yes, the planning division is hosting a community workshop with the public next Wednesday, February 28th. It will be here in the city council chambers at 6:30 p.m. We're gonna hopefully hear from the public on your feedback on the draft housing element on housing. We encourage you to come. The workshop will be in both English and Spanish. It will be in person as well as on Zoom. There will be we have an AI translation software that will be live running. So, and we'll have it live translation as well. We really encourage you to reach every aspect of the community. It's a very important document that plans for housing for the next 8 years. And we welcome all community feedback and to come to that event. Again, February 28th. It's a Wednesday. It's here in the council chambers and on Zoom at 6:30 p.m.
I have a question.
Commissioner LeBlanc?
Can I comment as a member of the citizen? I'm a community member, I'm a property owner. Can I come to that meeting and comment from Carol Lenore?
Yes, I would just, as you make your comment, make clear that
Okay.
you're speaking with planner.
My own self.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that report, and it would be good to see as many in the public as possible come to that workshop. So we are reached the end of our agenda. So we will adjourn the meeting at 6:48.
There's a meeting that's still regarding the hospital. 6:30. Sorry.